From The Unsaved Christian by Dean Inserra. If there's such a thing as missional insecurity, I've felt it. It's that feeling you had in college when your friends spent spring break serving in a Haitian orphanage while you drove to the beach. My most vivid experience of this insecurity came while moving out of my seminary apartment. I was loading up to make the drive back home to my hometown of Tallahassee, where I would begin local church pastoral ministry. I was excited to be heading home, until I saw my neighbor from our seminary apartment complex, Matt. He was moving to Northern California to join the staff of a local church. Great, I thought. There's Matt packing up his family and entire life to move to one of the most secularized regions in America, and I'm going back home, where I'll live 10 miles from the Georgia state line and less than an hour from Alabama. He's going on mission. I'm headed to the Bible Belt. I felt like I was taking the easy road, and Matt was taking the courageous one, leading his family to an area where preaching the gospel of Jesus Christ would be just barely harder than finding a Republican. I was heading to the land of the monogrammed. I wanted to say something spiritual, to make myself feel better. With the standard one-arm man hug, I said, "I really admire what you're doing, and will pray for you as you head to an area with such an important Great Commission need." Matt's reply was not what I was expecting. "Whatever," he said, doing the required pat on the back during our man hug. "The Bible Belt's the most difficult place in America to pastor a local church." I was stunned. He must have sensed my confusion because he explained further. As he did, I had a serious epiphany. I believe the Lord knew what I needed to hear in that moment, and it changed my perspective forever on my role as a pastor in the part of the country where I live and minister. "In California," Matt said, "there's rarely confusion. Either you're a Christian or you're not. In the Bible Belt, many people think they're Christians, but have no concept of the severity of sin, necessity of repentance, message of grace, or the overall message of the gospel. They think they're just fine with God, and God is fine with them because they aren't atheists and have been to church before as a kid. It's almost like you have to help them get lost so they can actually be saved. They believe in God, but do not believe their sin has done anything to separate them from Him or cause them to need the Jesus they claim to believe in. You have to get them lost before they can actually be saved." People are too quick to claim something as life-changing, and I've done that myself about a new flavor of Bluebell ice cream or some Kansas City barbecue, but from a ministry perspective, this really was the moment for me. The reality of Matt's description of my hometown created a missional urgency rather than missional insecurity. Since that parking lot conversation, I moved back home just south of the Georgia line to plant a church among people with Southern accents who never missed Vacation Bible School as kids and now drop their own kids off several weeks of the summer to different VBS programs across town. Whereas church familiarity is a rarity where Matt is, people back home will dress up to go to church on Easter Sunday while having no concept of why that holiday even matters on Monday morning. Since that conversation in our seminary apartment parking lot, I've also come to realize that the spiritual landscape Matt was describing is not unique to the South. What he was describing was cultural Christianity, a religion that I believe is practiced by more Americans than any other faith or religion. Its participants can be found in Catholic or Protestant churches, in the South and Midwest, on high school football fields, at patriotic celebrations, and around family dinner tables. It looks and sounds very Christian on the surface, but is merely Christian by culture rather than conviction. The gospel of Jesus Christ is not part of the equation. The people who practice cultural Christianity are not atheists or agnostics. In fact, cultural Christians would be offended if described with such labels. These are not the urban academics living in loft apartments who could calculate their opposition to Christian beliefs. These are the suburban cul-de-sac folks hosting a cookout to watch the game. They believe in God. They take seriously their Christian traditions, prayer in schools, nativity scenes, and Linus reciting the story of the birth of Christ during a Charlie Brown Christmas. What is wrong with being a monotheist who loves Charlie Brown and believes Jesus was born in a manger? Nothing, if it leads to gospel belief and practice. But the difficulty comes when we examine exactly who their God is and question why the coming of Jesus even matters. Cultural Christianity admires Jesus, but doesn't really think he's needed, except to take the wheel in a moment of crisis. The Jesus of cultural Christianity is a type of historical imaginary friend with some magic powers for good luck and sentimentality. Amazing Grace is a song known from memory, but why that grace is amazing cannot be explained. The God of cultural Christianity is the big man upstairs, and whether or not he is holy, and people have sinned against him, is irrelevant. Words such as hope, faith, and believe hang on the walls of living rooms as decorations. But the actual words of God only come around when Psalm 23 is read at a loved one's funeral. From The Unsaved Christian by Dean Inserra.